What promise from God do you need to hold on to today, even if the answer hasn't come yet?
Hmm. That question, it really gets right to the heart of things, doesn't it?
It really does.
Because life, well, it inevitably brings those seasons of waiting. We all face them.
Yeah, times when it feels like you're just stuck, waiting for a door to open.
Exactly. Or waiting for an answer to a prayer you've prayed over and over, and all you hear is, well, silence.
Or maybe it's just a quiet patch, where things feel still, almost stagnant.
And it's right there, in those quiet times, those waiting periods, that the silence can start to feel heavy.
Heavy, yeah. And you might start wondering, have I been overlooked, forgotten?
Does God see my specific situation, my need?
Hmm.
You're trying to hold on, keep faith.
But the answer just isn't showing up. It's still, pending.
And that feeling, that worry about being forgotten when things don't happen on our schedule, it's just so deeply human.
It really is. It's easy for doubt to sneak in when it's quiet for too long. Makes you question if you're really seen.
But the amazing truth, the core assurance we're digging into today, is the absolute opposite of that feeling.
It's that you are never, ever forgotten, not even for a moment.
Let's unpack that a bit, because, yeah, feeling overlooked when there are delays or just silence, that's a natural human reaction.
Our view is limited, isn't it? We see our immediate circumstances, our pressing needs.
Right. And when prayers seem unanswered, or the breakthrough we hoped for doesn't come when we expect it, it's easy for that little voice to whisper, maybe I'm not important right now.
It feels like a disconnect, between how urgent our need feels and how still things seem on the divine side, like sending a text and just seeing read with no reply.
Yet, Scripture paints such a different picture. A picture of a God who isn't distant, but profoundly aware of you.
Intimately involved, even.
Yes, intimately involved in the very details of your life. And crucially for today, a God who absolutely, categorically, never forgets his children.
And there's that one passage, it's just breathtakingly personal, isn't it? Isaiah 49, verses 15 and 16.
Oh yes, it starts with this almost startling comparison.
Can a mother forget the baby at her breast and have no compassion on the child she has born?
Just pause there for a second. Think about that bond. A mother and her nursing infant. It's about as close, as instinctual, as constant a connection as you can imagine.
Total dependency, constant care.
Exactly. So the question itself points to something almost unthinkable, a mother forgetting the child she literally just held and nourished.
It's using the strongest possible human bond we know
Right.
to say, even if that incredibly intense connection could somehow fail.
Though she may forget, I will not forget you. It's just this powerful declaration of unwavering commitment.
But it doesn't stop there, does it? It goes even deeper.
No, it gives us this image, not just remembering, but permanent presence. It says, see, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands.
Engraved. That word is so significant. It's not like written in marker.
Not at all. It's not a temporary note. Engraving is permanent.
It implies effort, permanence, something carved in, right?
Yes. Think about engraving. It's done on durable surfaces, stone or metal. It leaves a mark that's basically impossible to remove. It's meant to last forever.
So it's not like God just has a mental note filed away somewhere about you.
Far from it. It suggests this incredibly deep, intimate, unchangeable connection. Like God is saying, you're not just on my mind, you're part of my very being, always before me,
Wow.
constantly visible. It's this constant visual reminder of his commitment. It's really the ultimate proof of being remembered, being bound together.
People used to do that, right? Engrave reminders on their hands.
Exactly. In ancient times, it was a way to ensure something vital wasn't forgotten. God uses that human practice, but elevates it to this divine, eternal scale.
That just completely turns that feeling of being forgotten, of being invisible, on its head.
It really does. So when you're in that quiet season, feeling unseen, this promise declares the total opposite. You're literally on God's hands, always seen, always present to him.
And this isn't just, a nice idea from thousands of years ago. We saw some examples of this playing out today.
Yeah, real stories of people holding on to this very promise during their own times of waiting and silence.
There was that story about the single mother in Brazil. That was tough.
Incredibly tough, waiting over a year for a job. Can you imagine?
The daily pressure, the uncertainty, a whole year of that.
Yeah, the stress must have been immense. Bills, caring for her child, all while facing that long silence on the job front.
And what stood out was how she waited.
Right. It said she specifically clung to that message from Isaiah 49 every single day.
Wow. actively holding on to it.
Mm-hmm. Reminding herself of that truth,
Yeah.
minute by minute, even when everything around her seemed to contradict it.
So it wasn't passive waiting. She was anchored to that promise. And then what happened?
Well, after that very long, very hard year, she finally got a job offer.
Finally.
And her reflection afterward was so insightful. She said something like, "The waiting was hard, but now I see why God asked me to trust."
Ah, that perspective you only get looking back.
Exactly. In the thick of it, the delay feels pointless, maybe even like neglect. But afterward, she could see a timing, maybe a purpose, that was hidden during the wait.
Maybe it wasn't just any job, but the right one. Or maybe the waiting itself did something important in her faith.
That's what it suggests. That God's timing isn't arbitrary. It might involve preparation, aligning unseen things, or deepening trust in a way only waiting can achieve. It sounds like the outcome validated the struggle.
And it's not just personal situations like jobs. There was also that account from the pastor.
Yes, the pastor in rural Canada. His church went through 3 years. 3 years of no growth.
3 years. That's a long time in ministry to see no outward signs of progress, pouring yourself out and nothing seems to be happening.
He was very honest about the toll it took. He said they almost gave up.
I can understand that kind of prolonged silence when you're hoping and working for change. It must have been incredibly discouraging, testing their faith, their calling.
Definitely isolating. But
Yeah.
then, just like the story from Brazil, there's a sudden shift.
After all that stillness.
Yes. After 3 years, the pastor described God moving suddenly and unmistakably.
Suddenly and unmistakably, what a contrast from total quiet to clear action. What did that look like?
It implied a noticeable, rapid change. New people coming, a sense of life and momentum returning that was clearly, beyond their own efforts after such a long dormant spell.
So both these stories, the mother and the pastor, they really highlight this truth, don't they?
They absolutely do. The waiting was real. The silence was hard. It tested them deeply.
But they persevered. They held on to promises like Isaiah 49.
And eventually they saw God move. It shows that even when it feels like nothing is happening from our viewpoint, God is still present, still working, and he hasn't forgotten his promises.
Yeah.
Or the people engraved on his hands.
It brings us back to that core tension we started with, our sense of time, our urgency.
Often feels totally out of sync with God's timing, which can include those difficult, quiet seasons.
And those seasons aren't easy. They challenge our faith, our patience, how we see God's involvement.
But the unwavering truth, the anchor in that challenge, is that God is never absent. He's never forgetful, no matter how it feels.
He's aware, he's involved, he's working, even when we can't see it yet.
Exactly. And that powerful takeaway, the thought to hold on to, especially when you're waiting, when you feel unseen, is this simple, profound image.
Your name is engraved on his hands permanently. You are never forgotten.
Never. Not now, not ever. It's the ultimate assurance.
So let's circle back as we finish up to that first question we asked.
Yeah, let's leave our listeners with this to reflect on.
What promise from God do you need to hold on to today, even if the answer hasn't come yet?
Just let that sit with you.
Yeah.
What specific promise do you need to grip tightly right now? Knowing, truly knowing, that you are permanently remembered, intimately known, and deeply cared for, even in the quiet, even in the waiting.